Hello friends, welcome to Learner's Planet. Friends, in this session we are going to discuss problems from previous year bank PO papers. Okay, so before coming to this session, I would just advise you go for the basic sessions, do revise the concepts so you'll feel comfortable in this session. In this session we'll be taking problems on various topics and for each and every problem I'm not going to explain the basics once again. For the basics you do attend the basic sessions. Okay, so let's begin the session. And the other important thing is just have your paper and pen with you and try to solve the problem. Just pause the session, then solve the problem on your own, then match your answer and solution with mine. Okay, so that will help you to boost your confidence. So let's begin the session. Now let's take this very simple question. What should come in the place of the question mark in the following question? Okay, so we have to find out, suppose this unknown value is x. Now x minus 45 and modulus of that is 40. Now friends, you must be knowing what a modulus mean. A modulus means that gives you the positive value. That means this, just write it over here, x minus 45, wait a moment. So x minus 45 should be either plus 40 or minus 40. Okay. So if x minus 45 is positive 40, that means x is 85. And if x minus 45 is minus 40, that means x is equal to 5. So either x can be 85 or 5. So this is the correct option. Okay. So once you are clear with the modulus concept, you can directly put the value of unknown, that is the x over here, and get the answer as 40. So 5 minus 45, that also will give you the value as 40, and 85 minus 45, that will also give you the value as 40. So no paperwork is required at all if you are conceptually clear about modulus. Okay. If x is equal to plus minus 1, then mod of x is equal to 1 only. Okay. Now we have one more question on basic arithmetic. What should come in the place of question mark? That is, I just suppose what should come in the place of x. Okay. So this is x. So root 289. 289 is actually 17 square is 289. Apart from that, minus 17 square is also 289. So unless until we are given the clear direction about x, we cannot say whether it is positive 17 or minus 17. Okay. So sometimes what happen in the examinations, you are asked that x is a positive number. Now if x is a positive number, then root 289 will be 17. But if you are told that x is as an integer, then root 289 can be will be plus minus 17. And if you are asked x is a real number, then also the same situation will be there. So in this case, we are not given that x is which type of number, whether it's an integer, whether it's a natural number, or whether it is a real number. So root 289 can be either plus 17 or minus 17. Okay. So in the options, if you see that this is further root 17 square, that it will be 17. But we cannot take the value as positive 17 because we are not clear about the status of x. This cannot be the correct option. Minus 17 is one of the value, but the other value 17 should also be there. This is incorrect. Okay. So we are left with none of these. So because the value of x will be 17 or minus 17. I hope you are clear. This is a very common mistake that most of the students make. We just assume every time that the number is positive. So spontaneously, while we see that root 289, we spontaneously mark that it is 17. Okay, but we should be clear that unless until the status of that unknown quantity, here in this case x, is given, we cannot be so sure that it will be a positive value or it will be a negative value, because square of 17 is also 289 and square of minus 17 is also 289. Okay, so we should be clear with the value of x, which is not there in this question. So we have marked none of these. Okay, I hope you are clear with the entire concept. So whenever unknown quantity is there, just beware that do not assume them as a positive value. Okay. While I am discussing this case, I just recall a question from previous year papers that x is a quantity that is a plus b whole square and y is a quantity that a minus b whole square. Now we have to find out whether x is greater than y, x is equal to y, x is less than y, or something else, maybe can't say. Now this is the simple information that is given to the students. Now out of these four options we have to select one. Now spontaneously, as soon as we see the plus sign and the square sign, we just assume that the value of x will be definitely greater, obviously greater than y. But it's not true always, because you are not clear about the status of a and b, whether they are, both of them are positive, whether both of them are negative, or one is positive, other is negative. Okay, so it depends upon the value of a and b, whether x will be greater or y will be greater. Now suppose a is 2 and b is 3. Okay, so x will be 25 and y will be 1, right? But if a is equal to, I take a is equal to minus 2 and b is equal to 3. So in this case, x is greater than y. But now if I take a is equal to minus 2 and b is equal to 3, then in this case, it's 3 minus 2 plus 3 whole square. That means x is equal to 1 and y is equal to minus 2 minus 3, that is minus 5 whole square, that is 25. So in this case, x is less than y, isn't it? So if both of them are having the same sign, it will be greater. If both of them are having opposite sign, then it will be greater. Okay, so you cannot deduce or you cannot conclude anything whether x will be greater or y will be greater, because we are not clear about the status of A and B. If it is clearly mentioned that both of them are positive or both of them are negative, or one is positive, one is negative, then only you can come to any conclusion or comparison of between x and y will be done. Okay, so I hope you are clearly getting this concept. Okay, now let's try this sum. Pretty easy sum, can be done mentally also. A triangle has two of its angles in the ratio 1:3. If the measure of its third angle is 30 degree, what is the measure of largest angle of triangles in degree? Friends, very simple problem. If the third angle is 30 degree and the sum of the angles, that is sum of all the three angles of a triangle, is 180 degree, that means the sum of the remaining two angles will be 180 minus 30, that is 150. Okay, so one is 30 and the other one, the sum is 150. Now we have to break 150 into ratio of 1:2. Okay, so it will be 50 and 100, that is the ratio 1:2. So this is one angle, this is one, and this is the largest angle. So the value of largest angle is 100 degree. I hope you are clear. Now, let's see this question. In how many different ways can the numbers, this 2, 5, 6, 9, 7, 4, we can say them digits only, be arranged using each digit only once in each arrangement, such that digits 6 and 5 are at the extreme ends in each arrangement. It's a simple problem of maybe you can say permutation, combination, or just a simple arrangement of the numbers. Now we have 6 digits to work with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now at the extreme ends we have to place number 6 and 5. Okay. Now the remaining four number except number 6 and 5, it's 2, 9, 7 and 4. Now we have 4 places and we have to arrange 4 number. So 4 number at 4 places can be arranged in 4 factorial ways. Or otherwise you can think it's 2, 9, 7, 4. For this place we have 4 choices. For this place we have one choice, just we are putting 6 over here. For this place we are putting 5, so we have one choice. For this place we can put any one of them, that is 2, 9, 7 and 4. So we are having 4 choices over here. At this place we have only 3 choices because one of we cannot repeat the numbers, and one of the number we have put over here, so we have 3 choices over here. Similarly, we have 2 choices over here because 2 of the numbers are put over here. So 2, and then we are left with 1. Okay, since all the things are going simultaneously, you have to multiply. So that is 4 3s are 12, 2s are 24. So in 24 ways we can make this arrangement. Similarly, the question is telling that 6 and 5 should be at extreme ends, but it's not necessary that 6 should be at this end and 5 should be at this end. This arrangement is also possible. Okay, so further 24 more ways we will be getting. So in all there are 48 ways to make this arrangement. I hope you are clear. Now let's try this problem. Study the given information carefully and answer the questions that follow. An urn contains 3 red, 6 blue, 2 green and 4 yellow marbles. If 2 marbles are picked at random, what is the probability that both of them are green? Now friends, in this question, 2 concepts are involved. That is probability as well as permutation and combination. Okay, so what is probability? That is number of favorable cases by number of total possible cases, or we can say total number of cases. Okay, so here we see that 3 red, 6 blue, 2 green and 4 yellow. That means in all 15 marbles are there. Okay, now what will be the total number of cases, that is possible cases for selection of 2 marbles out of 15? So that is 15C2. These are the total number of cases. Now how do you solve 15C2? Just reduce, start with number 15. Then if 2 is written over here, just go one step down, that is 15 into 14 and by this factorial. Okay, so it's 15 into 14 by 2. Okay, and favorable cases is we want both of them should be green. So we have 2 green marbles, and out of 2 we have to select 2. So it's 2C2 over 105. Now what 2C2 is? It's 1 and it is 105. So 1 upon 105 will be the correct answer for this problem, which is not there in the option. So it's none of these. Okay, I'm sure you are clear. Now similarly, just see this problem. The same data is over there, and in this case if 3 marbles are picked up at random, what is the probability that 2 are blue and 1 is yellow? Okay, now the total number of cases will be what? It's 15C3 because out of 15 we are selecting 3 marbles at random. Okay, now we have to select 2 blue and 1 yellow, and we see and over here. Okay, that means in all we have to select 3 marbles. Out of them 2 should be blue and 1 should be yellow. Now how many blue marbles we have? That is 6. And from that we have to select 2. Simultaneously we have to select 1 yellow from 4 yellows. Okay, so we have to solve this. Now what 6C2 will be? Just start with 6, go up to 2 step downwards. 6 into 5 by 2 into this 4, divide by 15C3. How do you solve? 15, go 3 step downwards, into 14 into 13 by factorial of this. That is 3 factorial, that is 6. Okay, so we have to solve this. So it is 6 into 5 into 4 into 6 upon 2 into 15 into 14 into 13. Okay. So that is 12 by 91. Okay, I hope you are getting me. Now let's try this problem. If 4 marbles are picked up at random, what is the probability that at least one is yellow? Now friends, we are having 4 yellow marbles and the question is asking about at least one yellow. Now there may be one yellow, there may be two yellow, there may be three, and there may be four. Okay, so it's a bit difficult for us to calculate for one yellow, then two yellow, then three yellows, and then four yellows. So what we do is we try or we find out the probability of no yellow at all, and out of the total number of total probability, that is 1, we will be deducting no yellows. So in the remaining cases there will be at least one yellow. So how do we do that? In all there are 15 marbles. We have to select 4. So it's 15C4. These are the total number of cases, and we have to select the 4 marbles out of non-yellow marbles, that is 6 and 3, 9 and 2, 11. So we have to select all the 4 marbles from remaining 11 marbles, that is non-yellow marbles. And if these cases we subtract from 1, so in the remaining cases at least one yellow marble will be there, because we are deducting all the possibilities of non-yellow marbles. Okay, so it's, how do we solve this? It's 11, just go downward till 4 steps. 11 into 10 into 9 into 8 by 4 factorial. Just write it over here. Similarly, it's 15 into 14 into 13 into 12 by 4 factorial. So they will get cancelled. Now just solve it. So it's 22 by 91. That is the probability when there is no yellow at all. And what is the total probability? That is 1. So if we deduct this from 1, we will be getting the probability of at least one yellow marble. So it's like this. So that is 69 by 91. So that is option B. So I hope you are clear with the method. Now in this question, if 2 marbles are picked up at random, what is the probability that either both of them are red or green? Okay. Now if we have to select 2 marbles out of 15, so the total number of cases will be 15C2. Okay, now we have to find out the favorable number of cases. Now what is happening over here? Either we are selecting both of them as red or that is or green. So red or green. Now both the events are not happening simultaneously. If this is happening, this won't happen. If this is happening, this won't happen. Okay, so there will be a plus sign between these two cases, because either this is happening or this is happening. Okay, so now if we have to select 2 marbles out of 3 red, so there will be 3C2. Okay, so in this case we are just selecting 2 marbles out of 3 red marbles, or that or means plus we are selecting both of them as green. So out of 2 green marbles, both of them are green, so it is 2C2. Now we just have to solve it. 3C2 will be 3, 2C2 will be 1, and 15C2 will be 15 into 14 by 2. Okay, so it's 4 into 2 by 15 into 14, or we can say 4 upon 105. Okay, be very clear. Since both the events are not happening simultaneously, that's why we are putting plus sign over here. If it would have been asked that one should be green and other should be red, then the situation is changed something like that. One is green and other is, one is red and other is green. Okay, because in this case both the things are happening, or both the events are happening simultaneously. One we are choosing as red and other we are choosing as green. So we are using and. In this case we are using or. Okay, so be very clear about it. Okay. Now let's try this question. If 4 marbles are picked up at random, what is the probability that one is green, 2 are blue and 1 is red? In all further, 15 marbles are there and we have to draw, or we have to pick 4 marbles. So the total number of cases will be 15C4, right? Now we have to draw one green. That means out of 2 we are drawing 1. So it's 2C1. Simultaneously we have to pick 2 blue ones. So from 6 we are picking up 2 marbles and 2 blue marbles. Then 1 is red, that is 3C1. That means out of 3 red we have to draw 1. Now we just have to simplify it. So 6C2 will be 6 into 5 into 2, that is 15. So just write the values, 2 into 15 into 3 by 4 step down, 15 into 14 into 13 into 12 by 4 into 3 into 2, that is 4 factorial. Okay, just solve it. So it's 6 by 91. Okay, so I hope you are clear. Now let's try this problem. In a college, the ratio of boys to girls is 31 is to 23 respectively. When 75 more girls join the college, the ratio becomes 124 is to 107. How many girls should join the college to make the number of boys and girls equal? Friends, we don't have to think much, just make a simple equation and you'll be getting the answer in 30 seconds. So it's 31x and 23x. Now if I'm adding 75 to this 23x, I'll be getting this ratio. So it's 31x upon 23x plus 75 is 124 by 107. Okay, so 107x minus 92x, that is 15x is 300, so x is 20. Okay, so that means initially the number of boys is 31 into 20, that is 620. Now girls are, as of now, 23 into 20, that is 460 plus 75. So that's 535. So 85 more girls are required to make the number of boys and girls as equal. Okay, I hope it's clear to you, and it's very simple problem. If you start thinking for a shortcut, that I think that will take a long time. So just do it simply. Okay. Now friends, let's take this question. If the length and breadth of a rectangle are increased by 8% and 4% respectively, by what percent does the area of rectangle increased? Friends, since we have to find out the increase in percentage only, so doesn't matter what the basic value we choose for length and breadth. Okay, so I just choose both as 100. Now further, it's a rectangle, length and breadth will be different, but further in the calculation of percentage, it doesn't make any difference. So you can choose both the values as same, and that will make the calculation simpler. Okay, so initially the area is 10,000, right? Now area is, the length is increased by 8%, so the new length is this and the new width is this. Now we have to find out the new area. Now how do you multiply 108 and 104? That I have told you in my calculation shortcut sessions. So it's 8 into 4, it's plus 8 from 100, it is plus 4 from 100, so it's 32. 8 into 4. Now just add in cross manner, so 108 plus 4, that is 112. So it's 11232. So what is the difference between these two? It's 1232. So from 10,000 the increase is this. So from 100 the difference will be, or the increase will be this. So it is 12.32%, as simple as that. After some practice you can do this sort of sum even mentally. Okay. Now friends, it's a very simple problem of profit and loss, and you don't have to go for even any sort of paperwork to solve the problem. And if you are not clear about this concept, do attend the profit and loss session before coming to this full length problem solving sessions. Okay, so cost price and selling price ratio is 10:11. That means selling price and cost price ratio, that is SP by CP ratio, will be 11 by 10. And clearly I have told you in my profit and loss session that the data after 1. Okay, so this data shows us the profit part. Okay, so this 11 by 10 can be written as 1 plus 1 by 10. So this 1 by 10 is nothing but the profit part. Now 1 by 10 is profit. So if you wish to calculate the profit percent, you just multiply it to 100. So it will be 10% profit. Okay, so no paperwork is required at all. Now let's see this problem. After 3 years, Aaron will be thrice of his age 3 years ago. The present age of Aaron is. Now friends, if you wish to make equation, you can, or else you can go by option. Suppose you choose option 1, then the present age of Aaron is 7 years. So after 3 years, the question is telling that the age will be thrice of his age 3 years ago. But after 3 years, it will be 10. And 10 is not multiple of 3. So it's an absurd option. You can eliminate it. Okay. Now suppose 6 is present age. Then after 3 years, it will be 9. And before 3 years, it will be 3. So it's 9 is 3 times 3. So it satisfies the given condition. So 6 here is the correct answer. Else you can make equation also. I hope it's clear to you. Now let's try this question. A person covers 1/3 of a particular distance at a speed of 30, next 1/3 at a speed of 15, and the remaining 1/3 at a speed of 10 km per hour. What is his average speed? For the friends, very simple question. You can assume a distance that is in the multiple of 3, so it would be rather easier for you to solve. Suppose the distance is 90 km. Okay, so first 1/3 is the person is covering with the 30 km per hour. So 1/3 of 90 is 30. So he will be taking 1 hour. Then next 30 kilometers he is covering with 15 km per hour, or is running for 15 km per hour. It will take 2 hours. Then next 30 km at the speed of 10, that is 3 hours. Okay, so this is the total time, that is 3, 4, 5 and 6. And what is the total distance? That was 90. So what is the average speed? That is 90 by 6, or we can say 15, as simple as that. Now what is average speed is actually total distance by total time. So which we assume the total distance in this case is 90 km, and the total time we calculated as 6 hours. So the average speed is 15 km per hour. So if you are clear with the concept, no paperwork is required at all. You can do this problem mentally. Okay. Friends, I hope you might have enjoyed the session. We'll be doing more problems from previous year of papers of bank probationary officers. Do revise this session and the basic sessions of quantitative aptitude before coming to the next session. See you. Bye-bye.